As I'm looking out our glass doors, because we now have an indoor cat, there is a mourning dove, a chipmunk. We're feeding the outdoor community of small animals. So there's one community right outside my window. Hello, everyone. I'm aLex. We're here through Sun and Moon Yoga Studios YouTube portal. So delighted that you joined me. So delighted to be here to share this practice that's so important to me and maybe to you if you're joining. It's Halloween morning on a beautiful fall day, it looks like out there today in Northern Virginia. Sunday, 10 o'clock. I'm here every morning at 10 a.m. on Sunday. And if not, sometimes I put a recording on earlier. Um, And so check for that if you don't find me here on Sunday mornings. And Sun and Moon Studio is one of my main communities. Um, I've been less involved recently as my family needs have been in the forefront. So interesting, the community of where my parents have lived, about half an hour from here. um, where I'm so happy now that my dad's passed away that my mother feels safe. She's in an independent living apartment. So happy there are people there who know her, who care about her, who check on her, um, and kind of welling up here as I go down there, and I know the handymen that are called engineers, the people in the kitchen. I know the people in the dining area. I know many of her friends and neighbors. I know people whose parents have lived there before. So there's this continuity of community as well. So, community, I mentioned last week, and for once I'm following through. I don't always. Community is something that came to mind during my sit with you last week here. And one time I asked, as I had the opportunity to be at a philosophy talk with, we were at Feathered Pipe, Annie Moyer and I, with Kira Sloan and Ravi Ravindra, a scholar and practitioner of yoga and meditation. He's a scholar of all spiritual traditions, teaches, I think, at University of Toronto. I'm not sure. Can't remember right now. And is published and his translations on the Yoga Sutra and others, commentary. And the topic I was asking about, is there any mention in the Yoga Sutra, or is there any, is it addressed the our community, our sangha, as it is in Buddhism? In Buddhism, it's very strongly put forth that one of the foundations of our practice and our path is the Buddha, the sangha, and the dharma. The Buddha being um, the source or God. The Buddhists probably wouldn't say that, but our source, and the Sangha being our community, our spiritual community, and the Dharma being the way, the teachings, the path. So it's kind of the path that's before us and comes through us. And he mentioned that no, not in the Yoga Sutra, does not really address it. And not, it's really a manual for each of our paths. However, I find that very, very maybe implicitly, it's of course in context of a community. Somebody, Patanjali, who we don't know if it was one person or a group of people or a series of editors and writers who left those words for us, that's part of the community. Mm, so implicitly there is community, and maybe the Yoga Sutra is our a text that speaks to us, our to each of our individual paths, and that the only power we actually have is to cultivate. our path, what we practice, how we respond. And it's essential. There is a sutra, I don't know it by heart. It says something like, I think it's from the Yoga Sutras. It might be from another book. It's often quoted by a podcaster I like, Rich Archer from Bat Gap, Buddha at the Gas Pump. That to do another's dharma that would actually hinder, would cause us harm, that we cannot do another's path. And so it's so important that we find our own path. And yet, that path is never, ever, ever separate from our community. Our community. The picture, the thumbnail on this YouTube video is a screenshot or a picture of a greeting card I received 1 or 2 years ago from one of my favorite aunties, and she's a pianist, and I love kitty cats, and she sent me the picture is a group of kitties on a painting on a piano singing at Christmas time, which is a little early for this holiday today, but a community, and as we sit, I haven't given this instruction too often, but once in a while I'll suggest as we sit, we can invite beings to be with us, beings from our past, beings who are mythological, beings who are not even real, um, maybe totem beings, gods, goddesses to be with us here on the cushion. And it can give us strength. So, as I was just telling you about the community at my parents' residence, uh, that community, as I was speaking it, you might have seen it in me, and I sense it as I'm just remembering. I sensed it as I spoke. I get so much strength from the person at the front desk, the concierge, from the person who I joke with as I check in to pick up dinner, from the the person who I call on if I need a notary, the person who helps me for maybe next steps, the director of the community, all of those people there, as well as the other residents and friends. And the lady who got lost, who I was picking up dinner and comes up to me and says, I'm just in the lobby area there, and she says, I can't find my room. How fortunate that she was in a community. Oh my goodness. Whew, so community, so important to us. And I was so glad that I could guide her to the front desk and have her have them call somebody to escort her back to her room. So, and so why in this practice? That connection of our practice and how we are in community, the relationships. I was mentioning, I'm so glad my mother says she feels safe there, but she also has trouble sometimes in relating and feeling anxious with people, as we all do, right, at times and to different degrees. So we must find a way to be in community and not only in finding our dharma in community, but how do we relate in ways that keep us feeling comfortable and a part of, and that can be challenging. So this sitting, this practice is so important to ground us, to know that actually the largest community that we're always, always, always a part of, that is always with us, always sustains us, even if we may feel like we're not in good standing or we're in conflict or whatnot with our other humans or animals or environment. Excuse me, I'm sniffling again this week. That we are always, always actually in community, in this source, in the Buddha, that we rest in the Buddha, that part of the Sangha. See if I have a tissue in my pocket. I don't. So as I grab a tissue, and you'll probably still hear me through my headset, um, Make sure that your seat is comfortable. You might see I've got a little support here, a rolled up s- scarf to have under one of my legs. Our sit will be about 12 minutes. And I agree with the idea that you can be lying down, you can be sitting with your back at the wall, you can be sitting in a chair, but it's also very special if you can. And it's, there's absolutely nothing wrong with um, reclining or side lying or legs up the wall for this practice. But sitting, the foundation and the uprightness, there is a mudra, I think it's called Shiva Lingam mudra, on the left hand. And if you like, you can even choose this for today. Actually, this will be the left, and how it's seen is the no, it's not Shiva Lingam. I can't remember the name of this one either. Names. So this is the feminine, the open hand, the left hand, and it holds the Shiva, the masculine. I'm not exactly sure of the thumbs. Even the thumb one, the Shiva thumb may come into inside the fist, and you hold this just in front of the solar plexus. This can be a very strong anchoring, that connection of the feminine and masculine together, that hatha, that yin yang, the powerful centered mudra. And you could use that just sometimes right at the beginning or right at the end, or maybe right during a time in your sitting quiet still practice when you feel a need of regathering yourself right here. So the sitting, and I'll take one more sip before we start the sitting, finding our foundation and our stillness. So important. And then the uprightness. And that's all to say, all that is always couched in the freedom to move. Really, what's more important than any other aspect of this is the awareness, that we're aware. And if you're moving, you're lying down, awareness is still always there. So we always lean back into boundless awareness. So let's begin. About 12 minutes. Bell, and the bow signifies the beginning of our practice. And then we can employ the tools that help us find that steady seat. Seat meaning just the position you're in. And finding that steady seat, it's so helpful to go through the physical body, this gift, this vehicle that we travel in through this life, and sensing the very here now tangible touch and weight of the left side of the body, this pelvis, the upper leg, the side of the leg, the foot, the feet, the ankles, maybe the soles of your feet if you're sitting on a chair. the right side, and how it is that you feel center. This is huge, feeling center, that we have right and left, that there are always at least two that we're comparing, that the mind can help us sense. I'm feeling a little heavier through the right side of my body. And I'm not going to actively shift. Yeah, I could. I'm just going to feel where the center is, that plane between the two. What you may find as you just attend, that these micro shifts sort of happen on their own. It's as if the path unfolds before you, the necessary adjustments just happen. It's not like magic, but like I'm making the space, I'm allowing for that fullness of right and left together to be equally here. And so that's the code word for my approach of three words: ground. And you can always come back to ground. It includes, as we're in the body, as we tend to the body, the uprightness that comes as you really watch, attend lightly for that downward flow of gravity through the body. Also, quite naturally, but also you could help it along, is this buoyancy, this levity. It's the equal and opposing force of gravity. And it might especially be felt through the code word breath, the second word, and they don't have to be in this order. Within the pointer of breath is this feel, this knowing that there's nothing for us to do. We are breathed. We are breathed. And in the breath, we are in community in this atmosphere. One day I may breathe the very same molecule of air, of oxygen that you breathed. How acutely aware of this time of the COVID pandemic shows us. ground, sound, breath. The third is sound and space around. The birds, the dog bark, the tire rumble, out there and in here, almost simultaneously. And you might notice as we've been sitting, the conversations or commentary popping up, especially celebrate when you notice, when you become, when awareness merges with attention, the particular focus of attention merges with boundless awareness. Perhaps there's a sense of ease as you feel the communion, the community of all parts together just right here. And sometimes perhaps a fragmentation, and yet that points back to all here. Just relating in different ways. Bell and a bow. So a transition, and that the bell, what a beautiful component of our practice, right? We use it in yoga practices as well. Had a friend of mine spent, I think it was a few months at one of Thich Nhat Hanh's communities. I think the one in France she was at many years ago. And of course, you may know in those communities, they ring the bells frequently through the day. Plum Village, is it in France? And as a reminder to just pause and be mindful right where you are. Uh, and you can do that. You've probably read about practices where you can use pulling up to a stoplight or picking up your keys or every time you run water or something like that to bring mindfulness to your moment right here. Bow. So community, you might just linger with how you are in community here and there and ponder on the intersection of how what is our own path, our own dharma, and how we fit into all the different communities we're a part of. Thank you so much for joining me. It feels, and maybe part of it is I say it rotely, but it's not. There's such a deep gratitude for joining this practice, whether you joined me here on this video through and with Sun and Moon, or on your own. I know all of us practicing together will bring greater harmony to all our communities. Ciao, ciao. Thank you, Mary Beth. Thank you so much. And we're all part of different communities, so we all have a responsibility and a joy and a an opportunity in those communities. See you next time.